It was Sunday morning, July 5th, about an hour before Sunday school. I was sitting in my office drinking coffee, anticipating our annual Faith and Freedom service. It was right at 9 o'clock that a question came into my mind. What was God's great purpose in the astonishing series of miracles, beginning with the Pilgrims in 1620, and the Great Migration to the New World that followed, continuing with the Great Awakening, beginning in the 1730s, and then, of course, the impossible, inexplicable victories of the greatly outnumbered, untrained, and ill-equipped Continental Army against the mightiest and best-trained military in the world in its day, the Army of Great Britain. And on top of all that, the absolutely brilliant concepts of human liberty, of law, and of government introduced to the world in our founding documents. Anyone who makes a sincere attempt to trace the hand of God in the affairs of men throughout history can clearly see that America has been a work of God. So, what was God's great purpose in raising up this nation, which has had no equal? I had many times pondered the question of the human cause that led to God's great blessings upon our nation throughout our history, and I had concluded that it was our heritage of prayer that God had so greatly blessed. But my question this day was, what was God's purpose in raising up this one-of-a-kind nation? Surely, if the most powerful, prosperous nation on earth over the last 2 centuries was indeed a work of God, then God must have had a purpose for doing this. What was that purpose? Was it so that there would be a place where people would have the freedom and the resources to develop amazing inventions? That Edison could invent the light bulb? That the Wright brothers could figure out how to fly? That man could go to the moon? Or so that we could win wars? Was it so that there could be a Disneyland, a Hollywood, a Nashville, McDonald's, Walmart? The answer to all of those possibilities is, of course, no. So, Lord, I asked, what was your great purpose in performing the miracle that is America? Right away, a second question invaded my mind. What one thing is dearest to the heart of God? Well, that answer's easy. The gospel of his Son, Jesus Christ. So, if God were going to raise up a nation that would dominate the world stage immediately following the first officially authorized translation of his word into what would become the most commonly spoken language in the world, and if he were to have a purpose in raising up that nation, don't you think, Joe, that it would have something to do with the thing that is dearest to the heart of God? The light was starting to come on. Lord, was your purpose in performing this great miracle of America to make us the great engine that would lead the world in preaching the gospel? That we would become the gospel-preaching headquarters of the world? Was that really your ultimate purpose for establishing our nation? I started thinking about 1806, the Haystack Prayer Meeting, the birthplace of American missions, about Adoniram and Ann Judson, who left American shores as our first foreign missionaries in 1812 to go to Burma. And since then, over 1 million American Christians have followed in their footsteps as foreign missionaries. I'm sure many others have come to this conclusion long before I did, but it hit me like a freight train as we were celebrating our nation's 250th birthday, that God's great purpose in forming, building, and blessing America was and is the spreading of the gospel of his Son, Jesus Christ. That morning, July 5th, a family of 4 visited our church for the first time. They had moved to Danbury from India. Both the husband and the wife had grown up in Hindu villages 5 hours apart from each other. Both of their moms had gotten saved through the soul winning of foreign missionaries who had visited their villages. And as a result, they had gotten saved, and the Lord brought them together, brought them to America, and brought them to our church on the very day that I was pondering, what was God's great purpose in raising up this miracle of America? And the Lord said, any more questions, Joe? God has performed this miracle of America so that America could be the launching pad for the preaching of the gospel of his Son. For the past 2 centuries, we have led the world in missions. But lately, we haven't. Lately, American Christians have gotten comfortable. Like the post-captivity Jews, we have forsaken our purpose, neglected the house of the Lord, and focused on our own success, our own prosperity. Not only are American Christians unwilling to support world missions anymore, American Christian young people are unwilling to surrender to the Lord, and American Christians are unwilling to preach the gospel in our own neighborhoods. We're enjoying our freedom and prosperity while we neglect the very purpose for which God gave them to us. American Christian, stop hoping for revival if you're neglecting to spread the gospel and to support world missions. Stay the course.